Welcome back. The case against the man who's this week confessed to starting the fire at a Marshalltown building last year, killing close to 80 people, has now been postponed to February so that his residential address can be verified. Sthembiso Mdlalose made his first appearance in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today. The 30-year-old will face charges of arson, murder and attempted murder. He's confessed during the inquiry that's looking into the Sthembiso building fire that he is the one who set a body alight inside the building. That fire then spread, he says, leading to the deaths of about 76 people. The state has revealed that it intends to oppose a bail application. Well, days after the fire, in fact, Mdlalose spoke to a team from Newzroom Afrika, our reporter Tuson, who was at the scene not too far from the Sthembiso building, and told us at the time that he was one of the traumatized eyewitnesses.
I must say the experience has been fine. I mean, the city of Johannesburg has come out, to comfort us in this devastating time. We've lost our loved ones, we've lost our friends, we've lost a lot of people have lost their newborn babies. So it's been a traumatic experience, just one hectic nightmare in which it's just a dream. We've been just traumatized. But I must applaud the city of Johannesburg, in a short period of time. They were able to come out, and help us, give us assistance. Yeah. They've given us shelter, they've given us food, as you can see. A lot of people are getting food now. I mean, it's just been one overwhelming experience. One hasn't slept for the past 2 days because, after this whole incident, because, when the fire started, one was just asleep. Yeah. It was just after midnight. And, being woken up by the noise of there's fire, and people jumping out from the third floors, fourth floors, all the way down, trying to run away from the raging fire. And one of the most traumatic experiences was seeing those dead bodies. Every time when I close my eyes, I just see those. I think the number was around 55, if I'm not mistaken. But I must say the city of Johannesburg and the council, and the relative stakeholders, they've tried, to give us comfort as far as they can, giving us assistance. So we'll just take it one step at a time.
Still with that story, Mdlalose told the Commission of Inquiry that's looking into the Sthembiso building fire earlier this week when he confessed that at the time that he committed the crime, he'd taken drugs. Let's discuss this further now with Wits University law professor Stephen Tuson. A very good evening to you. Professor, welcome to News at Prime. Let me get first your initial thoughts on the confession and what we've just played out, in fact, an interview that we had with Mr. Mdlalose when he told our reporter that he was basically a traumatized eyewitness.
Yeah, so confession is a useful tool for the prosecution to obtain a conviction. We have to distinguish in law between an accused admitting some facts which are relevant to the crime, such as he says something spontaneously like, I didn't mean to do it. That means he's admitting that he did it, but he was saying that I didn't mean to. That's what we call an admission. It just admits a few facts which are relevant to the crime. A confession, however, is where the accused admits all the elements of the crime, such that the mere production of the confession into court can result in a conviction because the accused has admitted every single element of the crime and has placed nothing in dispute.
And what would that mean, sir, for example, for the charges of murder? Because ultimately what the state wants to see is Mdlalose charged for 76 murders on that night.
As far as I understand the fact, he's admitting to killing the one individual and then setting fire to the body to try and hide the evidence, which caused the fire in the building, which caused the 77 other people to die. He could be charged with murder in respect of those 77 because while he had direct intention to kill the one person, we're saying that he has indirect intention. We heard about it in the Oscar Pistorius trial. He had dolus eventualis, where he foresaw, if I set fire to this building, some people could die. But he continued with his course of action. He continued to light the fire, and it did indeed cause the death of the 77. So while he might not have wanted or intended their death, in law we say that he had indirect intention and he could be successfully prosecuted for murder of those people.
And what about intoxication? Because he claims that at the time he'd taken some sort of drug and to a degree suggests that may have altered his decision-making or his actions on the night in question last August. Would the court pay a great deal of attention to that, and would it be helpful at all to his case as far as maybe avoiding a longer sentence if it gets to that?
Well, intoxication has been found in some cases to be a mitigating factor. So while the accused could be found guilty, when it comes to sentencing, it could be a factor which reduces the sentence. In other cases, intoxication has been found to be an aggravating factor. So if you drive a car and you are drunk, that is an aggravating factor because you should never have got into the car in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And
it depends on the degree of intoxication. If he was totally, as they say in Afrikaans, pop dronk, so much so that he lacked all reason or he could escape a conviction by virtue of the fact that he lacked what we call capacity by virtue of intoxication. But there is a statute, a Criminal Law or General Law Amendment Act, which says that if you escape liability because the court finds you not guilty because you are intoxicated, then you shall be guilty of this statutory offence and you will get the same punishment as you would have got had you been found guilty of the murder in the first place.
And at this stage, given that all we have is the confession as far as Mdlalose's guilt, him saying that he started that fire in August last year, the confession made to the inquiry does not nullify, does it, the need for a police investigation, which is what now needs to happen. I'd like us to explain why it is that the fact that he gave this confession at the inquiry, why it happening at that platform, still does not mean that police can just go on that, charge him and throw him in jail.
Okay, so there are two situations here. I understand from what I've been told by your producer that he has made a formal or an official confession to a magistrate. So we're not talking about a commission of inquiry inquiring into the fire. So if he has indeed been taken to a magistrate and the magistrate has recorded in writing a confession in which he admits all the material elements of the offence, then that confession would be admissible against him and could be used as proof to obtain a conviction. However, Section 209 of the Criminal Procedure Act says the confession alone has to be corroborated in some form by other evidence. So in answer to your question, yes, the police will have to investigate further and they will have to obtain some confirmatory evidence which supports the confession. With regard to the commission of inquiry, that was evidence given under oath where he admitted to starting the fire. Generally speaking, the evidence given at a commission of inquiry would not be admissible against him in a criminal trial. Mm-hmm. The reason being is that at commissions, they're trying to encourage people to be open and honest and to assist the commission in its investigation of the incident. And if people were afraid that their evidence would be used against them, then they would not be honest or frank.
And I want to end with you then, Professor Tuson, by talking about what Mdlalose also said at the inquiry, that he'd basically been assaulting a person under the instruction of what he described as a notorious Tanzanian drug lord inside a room that he identified or referred to as a slaughterhouse. How much attention do you think should be paid to finding that person? Because he painted a very horrifying picture of what was going on in Sthembiso building, where he said it was basically a hub for criminals, and he too was under the influence of an even bigger criminal at the time that he committed the crime.
Yeah, well, basically what we're describing there is a contract hit. So he was hired to take out the deceased, and that is a conspiracy to commit murder. And so, yes, definitely the police should follow up on the identity of the person who gave the instruction, and that person could be held responsible as an accessory or as a co-conspirator.
Professor Stephen Tuson, good to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time today.